Hello everyone, welcome to another Snapcraft office hours on Friday. This is the fourth of these Snapcraft office hours we've done. If you've missed any, you can catch up with them on YouTube if you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/snapcraft.io. If you subscribe to the channel, then you'll get updates of when the next one will be, generally every 2 weeks on a Friday. We pick people from developers and people in the community who are developing cool things and give little demos, give you some news updates and an opportunity for Q&A. If you want to ask any questions, join our Rocket chat. That's where all the Snapcraft developers hang out, and you'll find that at rocket.ubuntu.com. If you sign into rocket.ubuntu.com, you'll find there's a channel called #Snapcraft. Jump in there, ask your questions, and we'll pick those up towards the end of the show. You can also get updates from Twitter if you go to twitter.com/snapcraft.io, and I think that's probably everything I need to mention there. My name's Alan Pope. I'm joined this week by Leo again. Hello, Leo. How are you doing?
Oh, doing good. It's good to be back.
I have to actually find the button to unmute the mic. It's and Ken. Hello, Ken.
Hello.
Welcome to your first Snapcraft office hours. We'll get back to you in just a minute. For those who are watching, we tend to give a little demo partway through this office hours. Ken's going to do a demo of snapping GNOME application and some interesting stuff there. So stick around for that. Before we start that, Leo had a couple of updates he wanted to mention and an event, I think.
Sure. Lots of interesting things happening. First, we have just released the Snapcraft 233, and that goes to Xenial, Zesty, and Artful, and there's also a snap for Snapcraft. So 233 is in the candidate channel, almost ready to be a stable snap. And it comes with multiple bug fixes, a few niceties to make your life easier when you are making snaps. But the two big things that we're preparing for are first, building in containers by default. So if you have been using Snapcraft, you should know by now that there's a clean build option that instead of using your host machine, will build the snap in a Lexi container that ensures that your environment is clean and that everything that's required for your snap is specified in the YAML. What we are trying to do now is to make this the default option, but in a way that you can share the cache and that you can build the snap in stages, like in steps. First pull, and then you can continue building, and then you can finish priming the snap. So everything will be in your container, but you don't have to do it everything from scratch. There's a lot of preparation in this last release, and it should be ready in the following weeks.
So that's quite a big change from the current, like you run Snapcraft and it installs whatever dependencies are required by your application on the local machine or on the server that you're running it on. With this, you'll have it all isolated in a container, and that will be the default, right?
Yes, and it will not pollute your machine. That's another important topic that you are bringing. After snapping 10 applications, I have a lot of crazy packages. It will be nice to keep it like isolated, and if you want to use your local machine for something, you can also go back to the previous mode. So the other big thing that we are preparing is a manifest file of the build. So everything that was pulled and installed during the Snapcraft process will be written to a manifest.yaml file, and this manifest will be inside the .snap file. So this will open the door for a lot of things, especially auditing. So if you are using a version that has a known security vulnerability, then we can check the store for which snaps are affected by this vulnerability, talk to the developers to make sure that they patch it and the store is clean. And it's also a good way to verify the build. So if you're using an application uh, that's doing something important, like say the Bitcoin client, and you want to make sure that this is built from the real source code and that there's no dirty code being added in there, you can take a look at the manifest and verify it against the build snap and be sure that your information is secure. You can trust your upstreams a lot more this way.
So will that manifest file contain just a list of things that were installed into the snap or what went into the snap and the version numbers, or will it have links to where the source came from, like a GitHub URL or a Bitbucket URL or something like that? What's that going to look like? Has that been decided?
It's like an annotated version of the Snapcraft YAML with some extra information. So on the Snapcraft YAML, you have the source where you downloaded the code. It could be a Git repository or a tar or something like that. But in there, you also specify, for example, Python packages. And in the YAML, you can specify them only by name, and then the latest package will be installed. In this manifest, we will annotate this Python package name to make sure that it contains also the version that was installed or any other information. The same will happen for node packages, and we can add anything that we find relevant for this. For example, if we are using a container to make the build, it's important to have the hash of the image that was used during the build. We will keep adding information until we have everything that's useful for identifying what happened during the build.
And you mentioned that the store potentially in the future could add a feature where it can scan for particular versions of packages that have known CVEs or something like that. But equally, if a user has one of these snaps installed, then they'll have the manifest file in their snap directory, so they could scan the local snaps that they have installed. Would that be right?
Yes, this will be in your /snap/name of the snap directory. You can find it there. This will be an optional feature for developers because sometimes they don't want to disclose a lot of information, or maybe they can choose what things to put in the manifest. So it will be there for you to inspect, just to make a better relation between the users and the upstream developers.
Yeah, this is great. This is something when we give talks at meetups, one of the questions that's come up a few times has been, how can I know what was made, what meat went into the sausage that made my snap, and how do I know what went in there and where did it come from or what version numbers? So it's really cool that we're listening to that and providing that as a feature. That's really great.
Cool. And now I'm very excited about this event. It's UbuCon Latin America. It will be in Lima, Peru. Let me check so I don't make a mess with the dates. It's on the 18th and 19th of August, so it's pretty soon. And Sergio and I from the Snapcraft team will be in there. We will be making talks, workshops, and many other people from the Ubuntu community will be in there. If you want to learn about snaps in Spanish, this is a great opportunity. Just take a trip to Lima. You can get more information in ubucon.org. And we have I think the schedule is not ready, but on Friday, Sergio and I will be making a workshop about snapping project. So you attend the workshop and you go back home with a snap ready in the store with continuous delivery implemented and everything. And then on Saturday, we will have 2 talks. I want to talk about how this snap process changes free software communities, because now the maintainer, it's not an intermediary, it's a part of the upstream community, and now the testers are not a separate community. We don't have the community of testers in Ubuntu. It's every upstream have their own testers who contribute upstream. So that changes the game a lot from what we were used to have before. And Sergio will be talking about how Snapcraft is making the life easier for developers and all the new features and cool things that we have that make it that simple to just make a YAML file, put it in your GitHub repository, and have it like magic in all the Linux distros auto-updated for all your users.
Awesome. So that's UberCon LA in Lima in Peru, and that was what were the dates again?
18th and 19th of August.
Awesome. Thank you, Leo. Any other updates, or is that everything?
That's everything for now.
Sweet. Thank you, Leo. So Ken has joined us for the first time. Ken works for the Ubuntu desktop team, has done for quite some time. You know a lot about the desktop. So you're the best person to talk to about snapping GNOME desktop applications. So I'm glad we've got you on there.
Thank you.
So Ken, what did you want to talk about?
So we started looking at snapping GNOME apps for the desktop, right? We wanted to be able to deliver these snaps to existing 1604 users or GNOME apps to 1604 users using Snap. And as we started going down this process, we ran into a couple things. One, we want to be able to deliver the latest stable GNOME apps to 1604. And 1604 is shipped with all GNOME libraries for 3.18. But the current stable is 3.24. So that really meant building all these old libraries into your Snap, or the newer versions of those libraries into your snaps. So Snap provides a very cool interface called a content interface. For those not familiar with the content interface, basically what it does is it allows your Snap to mount the contents of another Snap inside your Snap at runtime. So this gives us the ability to provide a Snap for GNOME 3.24 that has all those 3.24 libraries in it, not the GNOME desktop itself, but all those dependencies that most GNOME apps need, and be able to deliver that platform to 1604 users that currently have GNOME 3.18. So this way, everybody doesn't have to rebuild all those libraries into their snaps. The other benefit from this is bundling all of those libraries into the snap is actually quite large. And then when you install 18 or 20 GNOME apps on your desktop, then you're going to have all those libraries repeated. You're going to have multiple copies of them installed in different snaps. So with the content interface with the GNOME 3.24 snap, you can greatly reduce that size because it'll just remount that one snap into all the apps. So I thought it was a great solution for that problem, and content interfaces make that quite easy, which is great. For those familiar with the remote desktop, the remote parts for snaps, there are predefined parts for like GTK, desktop GTK3, to desktop Qt5, etc. There's also a remote part for desktop GNOME platform. Almost all the bits you need for the GNOME platform. So the desktop launcher sets all the right paths for you, so it finds those libraries in that mounted location. I got a little example here. I will show you. Let me just share my entire screen.
If a developer doesn't use this content snap, and they want to supply a GNOME application to 1604 users that's using up-to-date GNOME, right now you'd have to bundle all those up-to-date GNOME libraries in your snap so the user has all the necessary GNOME libraries on their system for 3.24 or whatever version of GNOME. And what you're saying is with the content snap, you separate out those common libraries that are used by lots of GNOME apps into this platform snap, and then developers can reuse that platform snap, right?
Exactly. So like, for example, in my example here, I'm going to show is gedit. The full gedit snap built using all the, not using the platform snap, is 82 megs, which I'm surprised it's not bigger than that actually, but because it uses quite a few libraries, but it's quite large. So not only is it large and there's a lot of duplicated files on your system, but you would also actually, unless you had a reliable source to get debs, to build your snap from debs that are built for 1604 with all those newer libraries, you have to actually define parts in your snap to build all of those libraries from source. So you would need to build GTK3, for example, in your source. You would need to build GTK source view in your source, unless you had like a PPA you can point to. So we actually built the desktop team built the GNOME 3.24 PPA, which is a backport for 1604 of all the common GNOME 2.24 libraries, including like GTK and things like that. And we are supporting that on the desktop team. So we are this is our way of providing support for in 1604 for GNOME 3.24 apps. So this PPA does exist. You could technically pull in those debs from there, which is what we're doing for our platform snap. It's also handy for your build depends when you're building your snap. So you would want to add that PPA in your development environment.
So to be clear, this is not a PPA that is designed for end users to install new versions of GNOME on their 1604 system. This is a PPA that's designed for a developer to build against for their application.
Exactly. In fact, there are no GNOME apps in that PPA. So as an end user, if you added this PPA, you would just get newer versions of libraries, but not the apps that you actually want. So nothing you actually see. It's just all the basically build depends is what it's full of. Okay. So you'll see here, this is 84 megs for the snap that uses the desktop GTK3 remote part and does not use the platform snap.
How long does it take to build everything without the platform snap?
I'm actually not sure. I suspect quite a while, depending on the build hardware, because GTK3 can take, on a fast machine, 30 or 40 minutes to build by itself. So it also greatly reduces build time. So here you can see the resulting snap is 6 megs.
Wow.
It's the GNOME platform snap. So I will show you the relevant bits here that have to be added. So you'll see here, you basically have to define this plug for the GNOME 324 platform interface, and you give it a target, which is the mount point. So you mount it under /GNOME platform in your snap, and you have to specify the default provider down here, which is the snap name that provides it, which is GNOME-3-24, and the slot in that provides this plug is GNOME-3-24-platform.
Okay, so this is in your gedit, your new super sweet slim gedit Snapcraft YAML, and this is saying I have a plug called GNOME 3.24 platform, and it's using the content interface to connect to a slot on the GNOME 3.24 snap. So the snap name is 3.24, and in there is a slot called GNOME 3.24 platform, right?
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So after you install the snap that's built from this, there's one other change here that you would need to make. Besides not building all the parts, is instead of specifying the desktop GTK3 remote part, you actually specify desktop GNOME platform. That pulls in all the relevant bits for the launcher.
So that sets up the environment to make sure that it can find all the relevant parts because they're inside another snap, right? They're not on the host file system.
Right. So the snap that I showed you that's 82 megs, the resulting snap is 82 megs, was built from a snapcraft.yaml file that did not build all the parts from source. It did actually use that PPA. So this is the diff between the two YAML files. So you'll see very simple change to make it use the platform.
Nice.
Now, if we did not have this PPA for people to build with, it would be huge, because you would have to build probably 9 or 10 or more libraries from source in your snap. So let me just show you a quick example here. So this is how you would actually have to connect to it, right here. So you have to run a command like this to connect that after you install the snap. We have requested to add the GNOME 3.24 platform to the auto connect list and that's already gotten 1+1 from Jamie, and we're waiting for somebody else to +1 it. So then it'll be included in auto connect, and you won't have to do this step at all.
Okay, good. So for it's a little inside baseball, but our process is that some of these things, these plugs and slots, don't auto connect, but you can go through a process where you can request them, and the developers can +1 that. And you're saying we're on the way to that being +1, so users wouldn't ever have to do this again.
Right. We need 2 reviewers to +1 it. We've gotten 1 so far. We're waiting for 1 more.
Okay.
So once that gets +1, it'll get added to the auto connect list. Then users won't have to do this at all. If it specifies this default provider, it'll auto connect on install. Because actually, this gedit snap would be completely useless without that being connected.
Right.
Because the libraries that it expects are not in the snap. So after you connect this, show you what snap looks like. Oops.
Can you hide that thing at the bottom of your screen, because some of the text is...
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
I am now in the environment of the snap. Yes, there is a GNOME-platform directory. So if you do a little find on this directory, these are all the files that are included in, that's from the GNOME 324 snap.
So for people who missed that, there was a line where you did snap run. If you scroll back up to where you did snap run. So this is quite a neat feature. You could do snap run -- shell, and that will launch a shell that's inside the restricted view of the world that snap has. And that's really good for debugging and making sure you've got all the files in the right place inside your snap. So yeah, it's just snap run, name of snap, -- shell. And it doesn't actually run the application, does it? It just...
Right. I'll type it here, even though I'm already in that environment, just to show it.
Right.
That's the command right there. Just get you into it, and then you can cd to $snap, and it'll take you into that snap's current directory for the current version. All right. So now, as you can see, oops, there are a lot of files in here that we really don't need to have duplicated. You know, all these libraries, binaries, things that are needed to run desktop apps, basically. There's spelling dictionaries. So there's a bunch of things that we just don't want multiple copies of.
And those are things that look like they're visible to your gedit snap, but they don't exist in the gedit snap. They're mounted from the GNOME platform snap, right?
Right. These files actually exist in the other snap, and we just transparently mount that directory that provides all those. And then there are certain paths that have to be fixed up, and these are the benefits of using the desktop launcher, which I can show you in the... Oops, don't want to less a snap file. This is how you would launch your app in your snap. You specify it like this. And this desktop launch command is a shell script that's generated by using that remote part for GNOME GTK3, or sorry, desktop GTK3 or desktop GNOME platform. If you use either of those, you'll get a desktop launch script that sets up all your environment variables that do the right thing.
So now you're inside the shell of the snap. You can run that desktop launch to manually launch your application, right?
Right. But I'll just run it this way.
Or you can just do that.
So that it actually works. There's gedit.
Sweet. Nice.
Working. It's got the GTK theme and everything working now, which is sweet. So
are there any limitations on, like, can someone else create a snap? Like someone creates a brand new, from scratch, GTK GNOME app that uses GTK 3.24. Can they reuse this platform snap?
Yes. And that's generally the idea. It's not just for those of us on the desktop team that are creating snaps for GNOME apps. We wanted to make this readily available for anybody snapping something that uses the GNOME platform. So hopefully others will find this useful. And these are some of the reasons why we want the auto connect to work as well. Because actually, currently, if a snap from the same owner, that if your snap is owned by, say, Canonical, and you have GNOME 3.24, which is also owned by Canonical, it'll actually auto connect those because they're from the same owner.
Right.
So actually developers, maybe they have some of their own libraries and they have multiple apps. They could actually create their own platform snap and publish that in the store. And as long as they're publishing it with the same account, they could publish apps that mount that platform snap.
So as an example,
So,
like the elementary guys could create an elementary platform snap that has the relevant libraries for the unique special source that makes elementary, and they could create additional snaps for each application that auto connect to the platform snap for elementary, right?
correct. Same thing could be true for like KDE, and even for non-graphical apps. I mean, there could be, you know, like a IoT type app that benefits from, like, say there's a Popey IoT app and you have libpopey. And maybe you have multiple apps that all use libpopey. You could actually create a snap for libpopey if it's huge, you know, because you have all these cat pictures in it, so it's enormous.
You know me so well, Ken. That's exactly the kind of thing I would do. Awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to demo while you've got your shell up?
I have a question. Sorry.
Sure.
Will this work in Trusty? Like, can I have a recent gedit working on my old 3-year-old distro?
As long as in theory, it should work, as long as the core snap is 1604.
Right.
Although I could say I have not tested that case.
So that opens up an interesting point, actually. Not just Trusty, but even on other distros as well, or people who are running Linux distros that are like, say, for example, Linux Mint, for example, which is built upon 1604, and they obviously have the same archive or similar archive to us on Ubuntu, where we have an old version of GNOME. Their users could snap install this gedit, for example, and get the platform snap as well. So they could also benefit from this. So same with
Absolutely.
the KDE-based desktop or any other.
Yep.
Neat. Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to demo before we close your shell?
That was it.
Awesome. And Leo, you said there were a couple more questions that popped up. If you have any questions, you jump on Rocket Chat, rocket.ubuntu.com, and join the #Snapcraft channel, where a bunch of Snapcrafters and Leo and Sergio and the rest of us all hang out, and you can ask questions in there.
We have a question from Diddledan, one of our Snapcrafters. He's a very good contributor. He says, where are the relevant GNOME platform build dependencies included? Because the GNOME platform helper doesn't do it as far as I know. This is, how do I get my random snap to link to the right headers?
Right. So you add the PPA. It's owned by the Ubuntu desktop team. So it's Ubuntu desktop. So you can do like PPA : Ubuntu-desktop/GNOME-3-24. And I just posted a link directly to it in the Rocket Chat.
Okay, I'll add that in the notes below this video. So if you're watching this afterwards, it'll be in the notes below. So if you're building a snap and you're doing it inside a container, you'd need to add that PPA inside the container that you're building in, right?
Right.
Okay. Or you'd have it installed or added on your system, but you probably wouldn't want that PPA on your 1604 system, would you?
Probably not, no.
Okay. Leo's smiling. I think there's another question coming.
No, I have tons of questions. Like, this work is awesome because now I will be able to have the latest apps without polluting my system. So I was wondering, what other applications, in addition to gedit, are you working on?
I've got probably, I haven't counted them lately, but there's 9 or 10 of them in the store. Some of the GNOME games, Quadrapassel, GNOME Sudoku. Those might be the only games. I got the GNOME Calculator, gedit, of course. I think I might have GNOME Contacts done. I've got a bunch of that are work in progress, but so there's a number of them already in the store, and I'm adding more One caveat is it is a little problematic to build a GNOME app that actually runs GJS, that has to use the JavaScript interpreter. There are some funky paths, and I have a branch of the Snapcraft desktop helpers that seems to fix that. But I need to test it a little bit more before I propose getting that merged up. So I wouldn't recommend trying to snap something that uses GJS just yet. But I do have a working snap for GNOME Maps that uses GJS. So that'll be in the store soon.
It's interesting. You've raised an interesting point, Leo, that you said, I want the latest version of these GNOME apps, and I can imagine there are some people watching this who are thinking, well, why don't you just upgrade? Why don't you just upgrade to 1704 or 1710 when that comes out later in the year? And I think the answer to that is we are acutely aware that a large number of our users don't upgrade, and they don't want to. They want to stick on our LTS releases. We have a huge proportion of our user base that stick on 1204. 1404 and 1604, and would rather stay on that release until the next LTS. So this is like super valuable for them because they get to stick on the LTS release that they like. They get to put latest GNOME applications on top of that without ruining the underlying platform with a whole bunch of random strange PPAs. So this is going to be super valuable to those people who run LTSs.
Absolutely, and that's really what our goal is, to make it easy for those users to have upgrade paths, not just to upgrade their systems, but to upgrade apps and use the later versions of the apps.
Yeah, it's awesome. Go on, Leo, have you got more questions?
Yes, well, I know you are like, this is work in progress. There are some details to still polish, but will we have documentation? Like if I have a GNOME app and I want to use your platform, are we going to have a tutorial, or where should I go to read more about this?
Yes, that is an excellent question. I have written up a blog post that will be posted on Insights. Probably get it posted sometime next week. Just as I was finishing it up, I left to go to the UK for Guadic. So I need to get a few reviews on that and then get it published. And then we should try to add that to the tutorial site as well after I blog it.
Yeah, that'll be great. So look out on tutorials.ubuntu.com. There's a whole bunch of tutorials on there. We'll once Ken's written that up, we'll add a link in the description beneath this video, which will link to the Insights post. And then once we've got the tutorials done on tutorials.ubuntu.com, we'll put it in there. It's also worth noting that if you want to help out here in any way, then I know Ken lurks on IRC. The Ubuntu desktop team have an IRC channel on Freenode. It's #Ubuntu-desktop, and the Snapcrafters all hang out on Rocket Chat, rocket.ubuntu.com /Snapcraft. Any other questions, Leo?
No, I just wanted to say thanks to Ken and his team, because this has been an idea for a long time since we started with Snaps. But now that you're actually doing the work, polishing all the details, making it simple for people using our default desktop, it's not only that people on GNOME will have cool new apps, it's that you're opening the doors to have the same, but for KDE applications and for the elementary guys and for all the other distros that are based on Ubuntu. And now that we run in many more distros, this actually opens the door to a lot of crazy things. It's very nice. So thanks a lot.
Yeah. Great demo. Thanks, Ken. There is one final question before we wrap up. It comes from Shaber in Rocket Chat saying, will 1804 LTS GNOME desktop be a snap? The entire desktop, I think they're asking there.
No, it will not, or at least I don't think so. I think it'll be probably a bit complicated to get the actual desktop shell in a snap, maybe someday. But the desktop shell provides a lot of these services that the apps need. So I don't know when we might get to that point, or if we ever even want to, really. But it's certainly something I'm sure we'll discuss at some point, but definitely not in the short term.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken. Okay, I think we're done for today. If you want to provide us feedback, you can leave a comment below this video, or you can jump on rocket.ubuntu.com in the Snapcraft channel. Alternatively, you can tweet at us. We're Snapcraft.io on Twitter. We're also on Facebook and on Google+. And as always, if you want to subscribe to this YouTube channel, no pressure, you know, that would be nice. But, youtube.com/snapcraft.io. We do these every other week on a Friday at 1500 UTC. And if you have any suggestions for things you'd like us to talk about, then get in contact with us on any of those means. I'd like to thank Leo and Ken. Thanks for a great demo, Ken. Thanks for fielding the questions, Leo. And I hope it goes well at UberCon LA and your talk goes well there.
Thanks to you. And yes, come to Peru. It will be very fun.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.